An American warship has been hit. Not grazed, not near-missed, hit. Ballistic warheads, the kind designed to penetrate naval defenses, have reportedly engaged a United States amphibious assault ship operating in Middle Eastern waters. And if the claims emerging from Tehran are accurate, the entire calculus of American naval power projection in the region just changed in a matter of seconds. Welcome to Legal Lens USA. I am your host, David Reynolds. What you are about to hear represents one of the most significant escalations in the shadow conflict between Iran and the United States, a development that calls into question fundamental assumptions about American naval invulnerability and the ability of regional powers to challenge the world's most advanced maritime force. The implications extend far beyond a single strike. This is about whether the era of unchallenged American carrier groups and amphibious ready groups operating with impunity in hostile waters has come to an abrupt and violent end. Before we go any further, if you are new here, hit that like button and subscribe right now because we cover stories like this before anyone else does, and we break them down in a way that actually makes sense. The mainstream outlets will give you sanitized Pentagon talking points. This community gets the full analysis, the technical reality, and the strategic consequences that defense ministries around the world are quietly processing right now. The vessel at the center of these extraordinary claims is a United States Navy amphibious assault ship, one of the most versatile and strategically valuable platforms in the American arsenal. These are not small ships. They displace between 40 and 45,000 tons fully loaded, stretching more than 800 feet in length. They carry vertical takeoff aircraft, dozens of helicopters, landing craft, and most critically, somewhere between 1,800 and 2,000 United States Marines equipped for amphibious assault operations. When an amphibious ready group appears off a hostile coastline, it represents immediate power projection capability. It means the United States can put boots on the ground, establish a beachhead, and commence sustained combat operations without requiring local basing or overflight permissions. That capability has been fundamental to American military strategy for decades, allowing Washington to threaten or execute intervention anywhere on the planet within days. These ships operate as the tip of the spear, the floating fortress that makes American expeditionary warfare possible. They are defended by layers of protective systems. The ships themselves carry sophisticated radar arrays, electronic warfare systems, and close-in weapons designed to intercept incoming threats. They operate as part of larger formations that include guided missile destroyers and cruisers specifically tasked with air defense, vessels equipped with the Aegis combat system representing some of the most advanced integrated air defense technology in existence. When an amphibious assault ship deploys to a contested region like the Persian Gulf or the waters off Yemen, it does so surrounded by a defensive bubble meant to intercept everything from subsonic cruise missiles to supersonic anti-ship weapons. On a date that Iranian sources claim will mark a turning point in regional military dynamics, that defensive architecture was reportedly put to the ultimate test. According to claims emerging from Tehran and amplified through Iranian state media and regional outlets, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launched a salvo of ballistic missiles at an American amphibious assault ship operating in waters near the Arabian Peninsula. The launch was detected. Radar systems across the region lit up as missile signatures appeared on screens. American naval commanders would have had minutes, perhaps less, to assess the threat, activate defensive protocols, and attempt interception. Multiple ballistic warheads, traveling at speeds that place them in the terminal velocity range associated with modern anti-ship ballistic missiles, descended toward the vessel. Iranian officials claim at least one warhead achieved a direct impact. Video footage circulated through Iranian channels purports to show the moment of engagement, though independent verification of that footage remains contested. What is not contested is that Iran publicly announced the strike, that American naval operations in the region underwent immediate tactical adjustments in the days following the alleged incident, and that defense analysts across multiple nations began urgent assessments of what Iranian anti-ship ballistic missile capabilities might mean for naval operations in confined waters. The weapon system at the heart of this development represents a category of threat that fundamentally challenges traditional naval defense doctrine. Anti-ship ballistic missiles are not cruise missiles. They do not skim across the ocean surface at subsonic or low supersonic speeds, following predictable flight paths that give defending ships time to track, target, and intercept. Instead, they launch vertically, ascend to high altitude, then descend at extremely steep angles and velocities that compress decision windows to almost nothing. Iran has developed multiple variants of what it calls the Khalij Fars, and more recently, the upgraded systems built on similar operational principles. These weapons reportedly achieve speeds in the range of Mach 3 to Mach 5 during terminal approach, meaning they are covering between 3,000 and 5,000 kilometers per hour as they enter the final phase of flight toward their target. At those velocities, a missile launched from Iranian territory or mobile launchers positioned along the Persian Gulf coastline can reach ships operating in the Strait of Hormuz or the Gulf of Oman in a matter of minutes. The trajectory is not horizontal, it is nearly vertical. The warhead comes down from directly above, plunging through the defensive envelope at angles that traditional ship-based air defense systems were never designed to counter effectively. Traditional naval air defense focuses on threats approaching from the horizon. Aegis systems, the backbone of American fleet protection, excel at tracking and engaging aircraft and cruise missiles that fly at altitudes and approach angles consistent with horizontal threat vectors. The radar coverage is optimized for detecting targets against the horizon and engaging them while they are still dozens of miles away. Anti-ship ballistic missiles fundamentally alter that geometry. They appear overhead with minimal warning time. The descending trajectory means that by the time the threat is identified and fire control solutions are computed, the defending ship has seconds, not minutes, to respond. Interception requires hitting an object moving at hypersonic terminal velocity while it is plummeting nearly straight down. It is not impossible, but it requires perfect execution under extreme time compression, and it assumes that defensive systems are positioned and functioning optimally at the exact moment of attack. Iranian military planners have studied this vulnerability for years. They have observed American naval operations in the Persian Gulf, analyzed deployment patterns, and developed weapon systems specifically designed to exploit the geometric and temporal challenges that ballistic trajectories create for ship-based defenses. The evidence supporting these claims follows a pattern that has become familiar in reporting on Iranian military operations. Iranian state media released statements from Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commanders asserting that the strike was successful, that the target was positively identified as an American amphibious assault ship, and that the warhead achieved direct impact. Regional outlets, including those based in Lebanon and Iraq, circulated similar reports, often citing unnamed military sources or intelligence officials. Video footage allegedly showing the strike was distributed through Iranian channels, though the angle, quality, and context of that footage have been subject to intense scrutiny and competing interpretations. Western defense analysts who reviewed the imagery noted that determining the exact nature of what is being depicted, particularly given video compression and the distances involved, remains exceptionally difficult without access to raw intelligence data. What shifted the narrative from speculative claim to serious analytical concern was not Iranian assertions alone. It was the response pattern from American and Allied sources. In the immediate aftermath of the alleged strike, United States Central Command issued carefully worded statements confirming that American naval forces in the region had detected and responded to ballistic missile launches, but providing no details regarding impacts, damage, or casualties. That phrasing, detect and respond rather than intercept and destroy, created immediate questions among defense observers. If all incoming threats had been successfully intercepted, standard protocol would be to state that explicitly as a demonstration of defensive capability and a deterrent message to adversaries. The conspicuous absence of such definitive language suggested something other than complete defensive success. Even more significant was the emergence of commentary from defense professionals with direct knowledge of anti-ship ballistic missile challenges. A former United States Navy officer with experience in Aegis combat systems spoke to defense publications, acknowledging that ballistic missiles descending at near vertical angles represent the most difficult intercept scenario for current naval air defense architecture. He noted that while interception is possible, it requires optimal positioning, perfect sensor performance, and flawless execution of engagement sequences that must unfold in compressed time frames. He characterized the threat as serious and acknowledged that American naval forces operating in confined waters near Iranian missile launch positions face genuine vulnerability. That assessment, coming from a source with credibility in American defense circles rather than from Iranian officials, lent weight to concerns about the incident. It positioned the threat not as propaganda or exaggeration, but as a documented capability that American naval planners are actively working to counter. An Israeli defense analyst specializing in missile defense similarly acknowledged in commentary following the incident that anti-ship ballistic missiles have created what he described as a critical gap in naval air defense coverage. His assessment noted that while systems like Aegis were designed to handle aircraft and cruise missiles with exceptional effectiveness, the engineering and operational challenges of intercepting ballistic warheads in terminal phase remain only partially solved. These acknowledgments from sources that would have every incentive to downplay Iranian capabilities or to reassure audiences about American defensive superiority instead validated the seriousness of the threat and the plausibility that an engagement could have occurred with outcomes less than complete defensive success. The strategic implications extend far beyond the specific vessel allegedly targeted or the immediate tactical outcome of one engagement. What this incident represents, if the claims hold even partial validity, is the demonstrated ability of a regional power equipped with domestically developed weapon systems to credibly threaten the most powerful navy on Earth while it operates in waters that American planners have long considered secure for power projection. Amphibious assault ships exist to enable intervention. They position Marines offshore, ready to execute landing operations, raids, or evacuations. Their presence communicates American capability and will to act. That communication only functions if the ships themselves are perceived as survivable, if adversaries believe that attempting to strike them would result in failed attacks and devastating retaliation. The moment that calculation shifts, the moment that adversaries credibly believe they can engage American capital ships with reasonable probability of scoring hits, the entire foundation of naval power projection begins to erode. Commanders become more cautious. Politicians become more hesitant. The risk-reward analysis of positioning high-value assets within range of advanced missile systems shifts toward withdrawal rather than presence. Iran has not built a blue water navy capable of challenging American carrier strike groups in open ocean. It does not need to. What it has built is an arsenal of land-based missiles capable of holding American ships at risk while they operate in the confined waters of the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, and the surrounding approaches. Those waterways are narrow. Geography constrains maneuver options. Ships operating there cannot simply move beyond missile range without abandoning their operational mission. The result is a standoff where American presence requires accepting elevated risk and where Iranian capabilities create genuine operational constraints on how American naval power can be employed. The implications for American military posture in the Middle East are immediate and far-reaching. Every amphibious ready group, every carrier strike group, every surface combatant operating in the region now does so with the demonstrated knowledge that Iran possesses weapons capable of reaching them. That does not mean those ships are defenseless. It means their defense is no longer assured, and commanders must plan operations with the understanding that Iranian missile forces represent a threat requiring active countermeasures, revised operating procedures, and acceptance of risk levels that were not part of the calculus during decades when American naval forces operated in the region with effective impunity. Force protection requirements increase. Ships must maintain higher states of readiness. Air defense systems must remain active. Electronic warfare capabilities must operate continuously. The operational tempo required to sustain that defensive posture creates wear on equipment and personnel. It increases costs. It reduces the flexibility to reallocate assets to other missions or regions. The broader question extends to deterrence dynamics across the entire Middle East. If Iran can credibly threaten American ships with ballistic missiles, other regional actors observing this development will draw their own conclusions about American vulnerability and the potential effectiveness of asymmetric strategies. The global implications reach further still. China has been developing anti-ship ballistic missile capabilities for years, specifically designed to target American carrier groups operating near Taiwan or in the South China Sea. Every test of anti-ship ballistic missiles against real-world naval defenses, every demonstration that these weapons can be employed effectively, every acknowledgement from American defense professionals that countering them remains challenging, all of that contributes to a larger narrative about whether American naval dominance in contested littoral waters can be sustained. Potential adversaries study these developments. They assess American responses. They calibrate their own strategies based on observed vulnerabilities. The counter-narrative, as expected, emerged swiftly from American official channels. United States Central Command released statements affirming that all naval vessels in the region remained fully operational and mission-capable. Pentagon spokespeople characterized Iranian claims as exaggerated or fabricated, part of a consistent pattern of disinformation designed to project capability and sow doubt about American military effectiveness. Officials emphasized that American forces successfully detected the missile launches, executed defensive protocols, and continued operations without interruption. The language was carefully constructed. Successful detection and execution of protocols does not equate to successful interception of all incoming threats. It describes a process, not an outcome. Defense analysts noted this distinction, pointing out that if complete interception had occurred, the natural response would be to state that explicitly rather than using procedural language that leaves outcome ambiguous. The absence of detailed damage assessment reports, casualty figures, or specific confirmation of vessel status further fueled speculation. Standard practice following attacks on American forces involves releasing information that establishes the facts and counters adversary propaganda. The conspicuous lack of such detailed counter-narrative suggested either operational security concerns about revealing defensive performance or outcomes that officials preferred not to discuss publicly. Regional outlets reported that American naval movements in the days following the alleged strike showed tactical adjustments consistent with heightened threat awareness, including repositioning of vessels and changes in patrol patterns. Those adjustments, observable through commercial satellite imagery and ship tracking systems, indicated that whatever occurred had triggered modifications to operational procedures. In the absence of independent confirmation of damage, the truth of the incident remained contested, but its significance in demonstrating Iranian willingness to engage American naval forces with ballistic missiles and the credible threat such weapons pose was undeniable. So where does this leave us? It leaves us at a moment where a weapon system that many Western analysts dismissed as propaganda or limited capability has been employed against the most powerful navy on Earth, where the defensive response has been characterized in language that suggests something other than complete success, and where the strategic implications for naval operations in contested waters have defense professionals across multiple nations engaged in urgent reassessment. An amphibious assault ship represents not just steel and electronics. It represents American power projection, the ability to threaten intervention anywhere, the credibility of American security commitments to regional partners who depend on the assumption that American forces can operate with effective invulnerability. If that assumption erodes, if adversaries believe they can score hits on American capital ships with weapons built domestically from technology that is proliferating globally, then the entire architecture of American forward presence and intervention capability faces challenges that cannot be solved simply by deploying more ships or more interceptors. This is a story that is still developing, and Legal Lens USA will keep you updated as new information emerges. If this video helped you understand what is really happening in this escalating confrontation and why naval analysts are treating this with utmost seriousness, please share it with someone who needs to see it and drop a comment below. Do you think the United States Navy has a credible answer to anti-ship ballistic missiles in confined waters right now? Or has Iran just demonstrated a vulnerability that fundamentally changes the rules of engagement? Let us know what you think, because this conversation matters and your perspective matters. This is what anti-ship ballistic missiles have done in their latest combat employment. Every naval power, every defense ministry, every commander responsible for operating ships in hostile waters is now absorbing what that means. The answers are not clear yet. The defensive solutions are not deployed yet. But the question has been asked loudly through ballistic warheads descending on American vessels in Middle Eastern waters.